Hi, Peter Chatter's here. One of the favorite sayings that I have is one that I wrote quite a few years ago, and that was that we all have creative talent, and it's the right of every person to have that exposed. But the problem is that sometimes we don't even expose it ourselves. We can't understand our own talent, our own creativity. But there's not a person in this world that doesn't have some form of creative mindset. I've heard plenty of people over the years say to me, well, I'm just not creative. I'm not an artist. I'm not a musician. I can't get up on stage and speak. I can't do any of those. And they say, therefore, I'm not creative. Well, okay, they might not think that, but I'm here to tell you that you're all creative. And quite often that's latent. You don't realize it, you don't understand it. So how can we prove that? How can we unleash that creativity in ourselves? Well, the first stage is that you've got to understand that young children are always going to be creative. You take a 2 or 3 year old, they're inquisitive, they look around, they play games, they pretend that they're somebody, they pretend that they're doing things. It's all about pretend, and that's creativity. So they might pretend to make a cup of tea or something, but they're not actually making a cup of tea. What they're doing is they're using their imagination to create something where they're playing. The biggest problem is that we lose that as adults because we start to think too logically as adults. And we think, well, we can't pretend to make a cup of tea because there is no cup of tea. We can't, play with a toy car because it's not real. We can't imagine that. And yet, it's us telling us that things are impossible that stifles our creativity. I've talked about lateral thinking exercises in the past, and lateral thinking is basically solving problems that seem impossible. Well, that's an example. For instance, if I said to you, how do you get your car on the roof of your building? You've got to come up with 10 ways. What are those 10 ways? In fact, try it now. Stop this video and come up, give yourself a minute. Come up with 10 ways of putting your car on the roof of the building that you're in at the moment. How are you going to do it? So stop the video and try it. Okay, if you come back, if you tried it, or if you're going to try it afterwards, what are those ways? The key takeaways in this are that nothing's impossible and no answer is wrong. So those two things, nothing is impossible and no answer is wrong. And when you start to understand that, you'll start to understand your own creativity. Another way is get out a pen and a piece of paper and start writing and give yourself a minute and don't think. Don't think about what you're writing. Don't try and make logical sense of what you're writing. I mean, even make up your own words if you have to. Just start writing. What you'll find is that gradually your mind starts to not think. And that's where your creativity is. Your creativity lies really in the part of your brain that doesn't think logically. So it's not our conscious part of our brain. Because if we only use that, then it's all about logic. Now, okay, you've got to learn to play an instrument if you're going to be a musician. Well, mind you, the punks didn't, but anyway, you've got to learn how to use colors if you're going to paint. There's certain disciplines around that. And yes, that's a logical progression to learn to play an instrument. But once you've done that, once you've got a few chords, you can start to experiment. But we can all be creative with our writing. I see a lot of creative writing courses around, that they're pop up on Facebook and LinkedIn all the time. And the problem is that those people are using logic to try and teach creativity. Creativity is not logic. It's not logical sometimes. Well, it can be, I guess. You can create a logical sequence. But true creativity really is brought out when we don't think too much. We don't think logically something can't work. All the new ideas in this world are thought up by someone. And that someone didn't take what has already been and just continue it on. It's something new. If you want me to help you get out your creativity, whether it be in a group or whether it just be you, why don't you give me a call? 027 663 0765. If you're overseas, put a +64 on that. So it'd be +64 027 663 0765. You're a unique person. There's nobody who has ever lived, who is living at the moment, or who will ever live that will be you. So remember that you are a world champion. You're a world champion at being you. Till next time, Peter Chatteris signing out.